Ben Zolno, working in conjunction today with International Permaculture Day from OccupyEducated.org and New Message Media. So I'm going to introduce you to Eric Toensmeier. Eric is the author of Perennial Vegetables, from artichokes to zucchini taro, a gardener's guide to over 100 delicious, easy-to-grow edibles. Please dive into the kinds of things that you do and why you think the kind of change that we need is through permaculture.
Well, I've been practicing permaculture and studying permaculture since about 1990 now. That's, I guess, 22 years, which has just been really fun, I have to say. I just think it's the greatest thing. I think it's the most hopeful thing out there that I see in the world today. My particular thing, what I love more than anything, is perennial food systems. Food systems, be they at the farm or garden scale, that are made up of perennial plants, so trees and shrubs and herbs and vines that are going to live for 3 years or more. And I love to see those combined, growing together in polycultures where you have multiple species working together to create a functioning ecosystem while providing food at the same time. I'm particularly excited about this when you can incorporate some annuals and some livestock in there to make your management easy so the animals do your work for you, reducing human labor and machinery and fossil fuel inputs. That's what's especially exciting to me. And I do that here at my home at a farm scale, and I travel around and do workshops on doing it at that scale and a bigger scale. I write books about it and stuff. And my big push right now is perennial food systems as a strategy to address climate change. And I've worked out some numbers that if you were to convert, say, half of the world's farmland, the sloping and degraded half of the world's farmland, to perennial food systems, we could draw down about 20 gigatons of carbon, about 10% of the carbon we need to pull out of the atmosphere, while simultaneously providing food and rebuilding soil and restoring degraded land and providing all these other excellent multiple benefits. So my push right now is to get the climate world to accept us as an excellent strategy, and to get the permaculture world to toot our own horn on these kind of strategies on agroforestry and perennial food systems and the food forest at the commercial scale, and these other kinds of strategies like this. Especially excites me is that these kind of systems can fight climate change, but they also resist climate change better than annual agriculture. And the component of them that most excites me is perennial staple crops, the sources of carbohydrates and protein and oils that grow for years and can feed people. In the tropics, there's many of them, and they're really ready to go. There are some that are good for cold climates, but there's a lot of work being done developing new perennial staple crops for the cold climates of the world, even including very dry cold climates. So I'm very encouraged by that. I think that's very, very cool.
What would you say is the problem with on annuals? I mean, largely, if you could talk about the way that our current maybe more monocultural or factory farming approach is with annuals, and why perennials might be a better approach.
Well, I love annuals. I eat them every day. I eat weed and I eat tomatoes, and I grow tomatoes and eggplants and all kinds of stuff like that. But there are several challenges with annuals. One is you have to plant them every year, and you have to usually till the soil in order to do that. So you're disturbing the soil, you're burning up some of the organic matter, you're resisting the effort of the soil to sequester carbon and to create organic matter. So it's more work, it's much harder on the soil, and the plants are working so hard just to get established and growing that they're much more vulnerable to pests and diseases at that early stage, whereas perennial crops tend to be much more resistant to pests and diseases and so on. They tend to be much less work once they're established, and they can bear for many, many years. So like an olive tree, for example, like you guys have out in California, can live for 1,000 years and keep producing olive oil all during that time. That's way better than sunflowers or rapeseed or something else that people might be growing for oils. I like a system you can put in place and then get it established and then walk away, come back in 20 years, and it's still making food. I'm much more interested in that sort of thing. As sort of a lazy or busy person, that's the kind of food system I prefer.
Yeah, I guess the most change for the least amount of inputs, right?
That's the fantasy, yeah. And I think actually there are real examples of this really working in many parts of the world. There truly are. The cold climates being the worst so far, but we're really working on that. A lot of people are really working on that around the world right now. I think it's not enough for us to have a really awesome backyard where we catch water and have chickens and grow our own food and whatnot. I think we really need to bring our strategies out into the world in order to, in this maybe 10 to 20 year period in which we have to address climate change, we need to bring what we have out there into the world in a way. We need to think big, and we need to start applying things on big pieces of land and convincing the people who do things to do them better or take charge of doing those things ourselves.